Hello, everybody. Welcome to La Liga Talk. We are live again with another show, another episode. First of all, I want to say appreciate everybody that's been listening as well on the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. It's been really good as well. It's been growing. And to the people watching, if you want to watch us and you're listening, uh, after the show, you can join us live on YouTube. Might be a little earlier than you would like to be, up and watching, but regardless, you can watch these on demand after the fact anyway and have your say as well. So big up to everybody. And we got TK here. Hopefully Frank join us in a little bit. And we got to talk La Liga, man. Girona still you can't keep them down. They're still
I know.
winning, getting the job done. 3-0 against Alves. Um,
Hey, they doing more than getting the job done. I mean,
yeah,
they literally going at it as if they were, I don't know, as if they were prime Barcelona, you know? Like when
yeah,
you're
dude.
winning games like 3-0, you beating Barcelona, you're doing your thing in the league, this the way they're doing it. I mean, that's more than getting by. That's
That is true.
proper, I mean, that's proper consistency.
100%, bro. And I think that it's been a story. It's kind of like I've been saying it's the Leicester City of the Liga at this point in time, and
Oh yeah.
they're getting it done, man, in a great way. Really playing good football, um, beating the teams that they have to beat. Well, certainly Barcelona was one that they beat Barcelona, but at the end of the day, you expected a little bit, maybe a loss or something. Or a tie, maybe they would go for a tie, but no, man, they went out there and got the job done. And against Alves, you would expect them to actually, um, to win it, and they go out there
Le-
and win it. You know what I mean? So
Oh
it's
yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah.
and they beat Valencia as well.
Right.
Um, Man, they just been doing their job right by kind of. They're beating the teams that they need to beat, which is crazy.
Absolutely.
Uh, and maybe
Absolutely.
maybe this is maybe it is, bro. Maybe we need to start looking at it like because people are like, okay, eventually they will fall off. Eventually
Mhm.
the but
That's
maybe
me. That's me. I've always said that since
yeah.
the beginning of the season. I know you're a believer, to be honest. You've been
Well,
a believer.
it's happened before, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's happened
Yeah,
before,
yeah,
but
it has happened before. It's just I'm still a little bit skeptical. I'm not skeptical because of the results or the way they play. I mean, they play in beautiful football. I just know, like in these matters, experience plays a huge role. And I'm not
right,
saying Leicester, for instance, had experience, but they did have an experienced coach. They had some experienced players. Here we're talking about this Girona team that, for me, they still kind of, I mean, they're getting the results, but they're still kind of shaky defensively. And I mean, I've said this like several times before, and I still see it. Like when I watch their games, because obviously now I'm tuning into their games and watching
mhm,
how they're doing. I don't know. Like for instance, the game against Barcelona. I mean, they literally beat us fair and square. I mean, there's nothing to say there. But what would have happened? And I don't like what ifs in football. I mean, football is when the game is done, it's done. Move on.
right,
But what would have happened had Barcelona, converted some of their chances in that game, like their early chances? You know what I mean? And
yeah,
you could see that their defensive solidity, or they're quite frail defensively. I'm not a fan of Eric Garcia, even if he's like a Messiah product and whatever. And I know a lot of Kool-Aids kind of defend him, and a lot of Kool-Aids are actually now saying Barca should bank on that guy because he's on loan at Girona, and I don't think Girona will trigger his clause.
mhm,
I still see him as a liability, and we've seen it when they played against us against Barcelona.
mhm,
Lewandowski got a bunch of calls behind him. He was, he was very shaky physically as well in play, and unfortunately for Barcelona fans, we didn't convert most of our chances. And
right,
in those games, when you don't convert your chances, you're done. So I mean, of course, they beat Alaves 3-0. It was they made it look easy. But once again, we're talking about Alaves. When they played against Real Madrid, even a depleted Madrid team, they still, they struggled a lot and they lost by a huge margin. Another thing that we haven't mentioned, like since the beginning of the season, is that Girona doesn't play. I mean, they're in the Copa del Rey, but they're not playing on different fronts. I think that helps massively because their squad is obviously not as
I
good
see.
as that of the top four or
Right.
the top five. So I think that plays well into their favor in a sense because when you're traveling, across countries, across continent to play your games, when you're playing like in the Champions League or the Europa League, obviously fatigue gets to you at a certain point. And this the Christmas break is usually a good breather in La Liga, which isn't the case in the Premier League, for instance. I
Yeah.
think Girona obviously has an edge in that sense because they haven't suffered too many injuries. When you look at Madrid, three ACLs torn, 3 seasons over, the latest being that of Alaba. When you look at Barcelona, obviously with Gabi and with all the injuries that happened in October, and when you look at Girona, I mean, they've been spared so far because, I mean, there have been a few injuries here and there, but they've been spared for a good chunk of the first part of the season. So, yeah, this shows that, the current maybe management of football, like UEFA and FIFA, that should be factored in how teams manage their players as well because once again Gabi got injured in international duty, and then all the other ACLs that we see, I mean they usually come when there's a lot of fatigue.
Yeah.
So Girona maybe have another edge in that sense because they just focused on La Liga. I mean, I'm not sure they're gonna play for Copa del Rey if they can manage to stay top of the league until the early next year. And
Yeah.
yeah, once you're past that half point in La Liga, I mean, it's for you to lose it. They're in that position and they're that good right now. So I mean,
Yeah.
let's see how it goes.
That is true. That is true. We'll see what happens with Girona now. Remember, Real Madrid also winning their match. They
Here
it
we go.
was at the end of the day, that's all they can do. You know what I mean? Win their match, stay right behind them, and hopefully for them, Girona falls off. But Girona staying solid, 44 points. Real Madrid 42. Barcelona jumped on top of Atletico Madrid on this one. There's still a gap right there though. Barcelona with
Massive.
35 points and Real Madrid with 42. That's 7 point different, man. You think that
I'm
they
not
can
I'm not
climb?
a pessimist, but for me, Barcelona's La Liga chase is kind of over.
Mm,
I'm gonna say, I mean, I know it's still just December, but 9 points adrift of Girona, seven
yeah,
points adrift of Real Madrid in late December.
right.
Um, having already played against both teams, having already lost against both teams, I don't see Barcelona. I mean, we beat Atletico Madrid, which is the only other contestant maybe for this La Liga. I don't see us catch up with them because for several reasons. Maybe we'll get into that later, but I don't think Barcelona can win this La Liga. I mean, unless there's a massive turn in favor of Barcelona, and of course, unless Real Madrid blow it and Girona blow it. Yeah, I'm not seeing that happen. I mean, it's kind
What
of
what what
we've
do you think?
lost, we dropped. Go
What
on,
are you
please.
trying to get into? Like what do you think is happening at Barcelona at this point?
I think I've said this before. I think Xavi is coaching a team that could score two plus goals per game, easy. We see it in the expected goals stats of Barcelona. Barcelona is number one in Europe in created chances, and
Mhm.
yet you have strikers like Lewandowski. And I remember you calling, uh, you know, uh, uh, taking out a clip of something I said before in one of our episodes where I said Lewandowski is done at Barcelona and he should be gone and Barcelona should start thinking ahead. Man, it's never been clearer for me than it is right now. I mean, I say that what was it like a month, maybe 6 weeks ago, It
Yeah.
has never been clear. I mean, he hasn't picked up form since. I mean, he's scored maybe a couple of goals since, whatever, but he's definitely not the player we expected him to be in his second season. Granted that he played really well in the first. I mean, he did well. He did score some important goals in his first season, and players usually get better in the second season. But maybe because of age, maybe it's a different. I mean, he keeps complaining about service, but his one of the most serviced players in not just La Liga, in Europe's top five leagues. He gets the most chances in top five leagues, and his obviously the one missing most of these chances in top five leagues. So I mean, a lot of people would go at Xavi and say, "Oh, is Xavi the right man for the job?" He's made so many mistakes, including playing Lewandowski when he's been off form for so long. You know what I mean? But for me, it's yeah, that's the thing that I would
I see a little bit of uh, a tendency with Xavi. Maybe not as bad as
mm,
Ten Hag, but Ten Hag in his first year in the Manchester
mm,
United, he showed a lot of really good positive, not just results, but like the way they were playing and gave
right,
him a little bit of an identity. And the next day, they gave him the club. He bought the players that he wanted, which is this year, and everything
right,
went downhill. I don't think that Xavi's gotten to the point where Ten Hag is at, but I'm saying like just in a similar kind of path, not as bad of a path, but you get the
right,
point.
right,
And
right.
and but
What are how are Manchester United doing? Where are they in that top four fight?
not good. I mean, they're like 7th, 8th. Well, they're
Okay,
I think
gotcha.
they're 7th, and but they're just don't have an identity. I mean, he's fighting with the players and
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
so
Steve. Well, that's
it's a much worse situation. But
yeah, because that's where with Xavi is different. I mean, I don't know if you saw what Cancelo came out and said in the media, because there was this journalist or so-called journalist trying to, stir up some stuff in the Barcelona dressing room, and he asked him like, "What do you? Are the players still behind Xavi?" And he stopped him right in his tracks, and he was like, "Everyone is behind Xavi in the dressing room. He gets
yeah,
along with everybody. Everybody is fighting for the club to go back to winning ways, because it's been 3 games since, like, we beat Atleti and then we lost against Girona. We lost in the Champions League, although that's like
mm.
that game had no consequence. And then we drew against Valencia. So it's been 3 games without a win, and that's a long time for a club like Barcelona. And so, but despite all that, I mean, the players came out and defended him, which tells you that they believe he knows what he's doing. And a lot. I mean, for me as a Kool-Aid, as a Barcelona fan, the only coach I would accept to take over Xavi's job is probably Jurgen Klopp, and Jurgen Klopp is not going anywhere. You know what I mean? So I don't want to
No, I
just bring in another, Kike Setien mid-season because he did well with Betis, and you expect him to succeed at a club like Barcelona. I know Gallardo, you are a fan of River Plate. I'm a fan as well. I like how his team played. I'm not sure he's ready for this kind of job. So who are you bringing in if you
he's
sack
got
Xavi?
Well, he would have been my number one because he's got a lot of personality. He's not scared of anybody.
Mm,
He'll talk to Lewandowski just like he'll talk to any young kid. But
gotcha.
the thing is that he's taken right now. He's gone to the Saudi league,
Right, right, right.
um, and so. But to be honest with you, that's what I was gonna say. Like even though I pointed that out, I don't think it's as bad as Ten Hag's situation. Which to me, I think you just got to give him more time. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. And the same thing with Manchester United, like, who is gonna take the job? You know what I mean? That's the
Exactly.
thing, like, you know, again, that's a much more worse situation, so you definitely need
Right.
to be looking at sacking or see your possibilities, but with Barcelona, I mean, yes, there's a gap, but they're 3rd. They won the La Liga last season,
Right, right,
and,
right.
in Champions
There's
League, they're
no point
still
in getting carried away
yeah.
because of, once again, like, if you look at how Barcelona plays, I mean, what do you need a coach for? You need a
Right.
coach to you need to bring in a coach who has an identity. Barcelona clearly has one. We're not playing tiki taka like we used to in '09 or 2010, but that's never coming back. I mean, you're not he doesn't have Xavi, Messi, Iniesta, Busquets in his team, so don't expect that.
Mm,
So that's out the window. But the team is still playing fairly well. There were games that were kind of boring. I get that. I get that some fans would be disappointed with the display, and yet I still feel like the team is doing what it's supposed to do. And once again, I want a coach who coaches a team that creates many chances each game, because of course Lewandowski is missing a lot of those chances, and our forwards basically have let us down because they're not scoring a lot of goals. But if a coach can coach a team to create so many chances, it's just a matter of time before some of these chances start, converting to goals. Unfortunately, obviously, we're talking about top level football. We're talking about teams that don't miss week in, week out, that grab every point on their way to the top, namely Real Madrid and Girona this season. So it looks really bad. But in that's just professional football. That's just excellence in football that we're facing today. But I don't believe that's down to it's not Xavi's fault that his players are not converting. It's as simple as that. He made a lot of mistakes. Once again, he plays Lewandowski, so that's his fault. I mean,
yeah.
I,
I said
I I
this.
don't get that. I don't get that.
I think Lewandowski should come to Newcastle, man. And
Oh
we'll take
yeah,
him.
yeah, take
It,
him, take
it's
him. I mean,
it's
give me
Saudi Manny.
Isaac.
Yeah,
Take him.
Isaac.
I'll take Alexander Isak anytime, any day. Then take
He would have
Lewandowski.
been
But
the perfect match, bro.
oh man, hell yeah! When
he
he
was
was at
at
Sociedad,
Real Sociedad. He was getting it
yeah,
done, but you
hell
guys
yeah.
didn't want him. Didn't ask for him,
I
man.
don't know what happened, bro. Like we let Aubameyang go, we let Luke De Jong go,
Which
and
that
then
was
we thought,
crazy.
we upgraded.
The,
We thought we upgraded with Lewandowski, and we kind of did in the first three
yeah,
months, like first part of the season. And then the World Cup happened, and I think he got abducted over there or something. You know what I mean?
that
This
was
is
the
a
crazy.
clone. This
I
is
would
not
never
Lewandowski,
understand.
guy.
I would never understand. And actually, I didn't see people reacting the way I was reacting because I felt like I was in the bubble and nobody was seeing what I was seeing. Like I couldn't believe that Aubameyang left just a year later when
I know. 6 months, man.
he
Six
was
months.
yeah, he was playing great. He was playing
Hell yeah.
great. So I didn't understand what he was Barcelona's best player. He said that he wanted to play for Barcelona, so I don't know why he
Yeah.
left anyway. And then Depay, Memphis Depay as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I just
Depay was injury prone. That was his problem. I mean, he was played out of position. I remember like I had another podcast and I talked about it on that other podcast. Depay was always played as a nine. You can't play Depay as a nine, and that's what Xavi kept on doing. So I mean,
mm,
he obviously his form dipped massively, and he wasn't scoring as much. He wasn't creating as much. Depay is a winger. You can't play wingers as nines. I mean, I don't know who started
yeah,
doing this. I feel like a lot of coaches try to do another Cristiano Ronaldo at Real Madrid because he was a winger and then he drifted inside and he was scoring a lot of goals. And they thought like if they did the same thing with all the wingers, then they would score as many goals. But the wingers
yeah,
don't are not goal scorers. I mean, they creators. They create something. They go past players when you expect them to, and they make they provide for the team. But you need a proper number line like Luke De Jong, he's not the greatest of players, but he's always in the right position at the right time and making the right call. Just one touch football, puts it in the net, and that's it. Goes on about his business. Makes run behind defenders, although that's not his strong suit. That's what Aubameyang used to do. And Lewandowski now, I mean, he's playing like he's Benzema. They're different players. I mean, you could argue who's better between the two, but they're different players. Benzema has always been a 10 in his soul. He's like the kind of player
mm,
he's so good technically that he could make his team play, play in that number 10 position and dictate the play and score goals. Lewandowski has never been that. He's always been the guy that you want in the box because he will score from anywhere. Just give him the ball. And
yeah,
since last season, I mean, I'm sure it's not Xavi's calling because Xavi is clearly frustrated with him. He keeps the ball for way too much. He doesn't play one touch football. It's He's hard to find in the box. He's always complaining because whoever didn't pass the ball to him after three misses in the 6 yard box. I mean, what do you do with this kind of player? I mean, for me, just bench him. Give Ferran Torres his chance. Give Mark Ju his chance. And I really can't wait for Victor Roque to join us because I think that will solve some of our problems. Unfortunately, that's going to put a lot of pressure on him. He's still 18, but I still think that will probably shift things. Unfortunately for the wingers, I
Mhm.
think Xavi is not courageous enough to put Lewandowski on the bench and play Vitor Roque. I think he's gonna try to make him play together, and I can see it from right here that it's gonna be a bad idea. Like, don't do that, Xavi, please.
Which is crazy because I feel like Xavi, he put basically he took PK out. I mean, he was
Ball group,
he took a lot of his friends basically. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And so I
Jordi
don't.
Alba,
Yeah,
PK,
um,
Busquets, yeah.
Busquets ended up leaving, so I don't understand why he has trouble with that, but, maybe he still believes in them, so
No,
at the
I
end of the day
mean, I get it when you believe in a player who's not been scoring goals, but he's been excellent, just missing a lot of chances. This reminds me of one of my favorite players back in what was it, like 2012, 2013 in Barcelona, Alexis Sanchez. I
yeah,
love that player. He's a hardworking beast. He's technically extremely gifted. I don't know what happened with his career, but that's another story. And that guy, I mean, he was missing a lot of chances, and he was playing with Messi, Iniesta, and whatnot. So it makes no sense when you because there is going to be a lot of passes that are coming through your way, and he was missing a lot of chances, game in, game out. And but I remember like everyone was behind him because you could see that the guy was working hard. In the case of Lewandowski, I mean, he's always drifting to the side, playing left and right, trying to make passes that are not within his portfolio, if we can say
yeah.
that, and that's the disappointing part. I mean, you're 35. What are you trying to do? Play in midfield? Just stay in the box and wait for balls to come your way and squander them. You know
He's
what I mean?
having
And score and
he's
score, and
having a
that's what
midlife
happened against
he
Girona.
he's having a football midlife crisis.
Oh man, absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better, but that's exactly what it feels like. If you look at the game against Girona, I mean, it was 3-2, almost 5 minutes to play. He gets that, perfect pass from Lamine Yamal, and he just squanders it. He just shoots. He doesn't even shoot on target. He hits it with his shoulder. Man, I cried, man. Like that was salvation. That could have been like 3-3. Just give us 1 point. I mean, it's I wanted us to win against Girona to, to
You say you
show
cried.
that we're that good. But and then the game was over. I mean, they scored the fourth and went home with it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just so frustrating having someone who used to be this good play the way he is right now. And there's no instru- he's not self critical either, and that's what gets me. Like, he's always talking about service, talking about how the rest of the team is doing, talking about the other players and the youngsters, and he's teaching. You're not teaching anything, man. Focus on yourself. Play well first, and then we'll talk about teaching the kids how to behave, because he's just frustrating on all fronts, man. And I really genuinely can't wait for him to leave because I'm sick of this.
yeah. Real Madrid also getting the job done. I don't know why my background is black, but it's okay. I'm in the darkness. Real Madrid beating Villarreal, man, 4-1. They're still fighting up there. To me, there's always something missing, but I mean, I don't know. It is what it is.
It feels
Uh,
that way, doesn't it?
yeah, it's always like something, but Frank,
They're not convincing. Like, when you
right,
watch them play, you're like, this not a team that could score 4 goals against Villarreal, clearly.
right,
And then Jude. comes out of nowhere like a magician that he is and scores, some goal, and then it's over from that point on,
Mm,
in a sense. You know what I mean? It's like the moment he's on the score sheet, it's over for the other team. That's what it feels like. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. And unfortunately, Frank is not with us today, but I would have wished to have his take on Real
Frank's
Madrid
been
right now,
skipping, man.
because
No, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
he's gonna have the audacity to comment on the group chat talking about what we said. Come on the show and face
hell
the
yeah.
consequences,
No, I
bro.
want I want his take. I like, because I agree with what you just said. I mean, you look at Madrid and you're like, nah, this team ain't going nowhere with this type of display. And yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, they're like a couple of points behind Girona. One slip and they're first in their run with La Liga, and I still believe they will win it this year. Believe it or not. So I don't know
Well,
how they
they
do it.
might.
What kind of black magic is there? I mean, Jude
And
Bellingham, I guess, is the,
yeah,
the, the
he's
answer
been
to all of
terrific.
their
But
problems.
to be fair with you, beating 4-1, got four goals against Villarreal. Rodrigo was involved. Brahim
Hmm.
Diaz, Luka Modric, old as hell, scoring. So I mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, you know what I mean. Somehow or some way or another, they get the job done. And yeah, like
they
you
still
said,
should.
man.
I mean, they still create a lot of chances, though. I mean, of course, in the way they play is not the best, but they're still like creating 20 chances a game. So I mean, 20 shots. I mean, they're trying to shoot on target. They're trying to, hit the target and make the other team suffer. So it's not like it's how can I put this? It's not like they're stealing those wins. I mean, they still deserve these wins. But I mean, when you look from the outside and you're just watching their games, sometimes I mean they're kind of boring, but they're getting the job done, as you said. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's all that matters, right?
Right now, Girona 44 points, Real Madrid 42 is going to be a back and forth race at this point. I
Yep.
know that Barcelona's got 35. There's 7 point gap right
It's a
there.
big
Atletico
gap.
Madrid, shockingly, uh, losing. Well, not maybe not shockingly. Add some a mess. It's always a tough crowd, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought Atletico Madrid was going to fight this season more, but it doesn't seem like it's going to end that way.
Really, you did? I mean, they changed the way they play, so you
Well,
always need that.
because I saw an improvement in the beginning of the season. Like I
Yeah.
saw now they are very well alive in the Champions League. You got to take that in consideration.
Hell
Of
yeah.
course, Barcelona as well. Maybe that's something that they look forward to. Um, Imagine if Xavi wins the Champions League. I mean, that's the
I
you know what
mean,
I mean.
come on, come on. We're so far from that. I mean, we still have to beat
And
Napoli first.
I
No,
mean,
I don't. I
everybody.
don't think. I mean, I'm an optimist, but I mean, we got to be realistic about these things.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying
Uh,
like, just
yeah,
imagine
yeah, yeah.
with
Of
all the
course. If
criticism.
I mean that, the whole conversation would be different by
Yeah, I mean that would be amazing.
now. Oh
So
yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. I
so
mean, everyone is going to the Champions League
and
as if I mean to win it, and you have Real Madrid. I think they've got a really really good shot at winning it this year.
they also got
Never
it, yeah.
forget Bayern. Never forget Bayern. Never forget City, of course.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
and yeah, I mean those are the teams that I see potentially winning it. Atleti, I think they can go far. Maybe that's what they're thinking about. I mean, make top four in La Liga and go as far as possible in the Champions League.
Yeah, 100%. I think that they could focus on that and see what happens. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, make European football again for next season and focus on this Champion League. They are still a tough team. They are
Hell yeah.
scoring and they're scoring a lot actually. And so
Yeah,
that's
true.
that's a
And
great
they
thing.
have an amazing pairing up front. I mean,
Yeah,
Griezmann and Morata, they're doing. I
they're
mean,
the
they
ones
know
that
each
did the
other.
job.
They've always played well together, but this year they've got the continuity that they didn't in the past. Because neither of them is injured a lot, and yeah, because of that, I mean, and of course Llorente, amazing player. I mean, I love that guy.
Mm,
He runs and runs and runs and makes some really great addition to that attack. So yeah, I feel like they're not as once again, just like Barcelona, they're not as bad as people would assume, given that they're fourth with a game in hand. in La Liga. But like I said, yeah, they're through in the Champions League. They're actually well positioned on the right side of the bracket. So yeah, I mean, maybe they're going for that. I mean, there's still the Copa del Rey to come. Um, there's so much to play for. It's just sad that La Liga, I mean, the top two in La Liga are so far ahead because even mentally, teams like Barcelona and Atleti Madrid will probably. I mean, they're still going in to win games, but somewhere you're like, well, it's kind of too late right now. So that's where you actually lose leagues. I
Hmm.
know that we're talking about professionals who go into each game to win it, but sometimes I feel like when you're not fighting for something like Girona and Real Madrid are, breathing down their necks, and there's something. It's like when you're running, when there's someone in front of you, you don't want to stop. You just want to keep them within touch. But when you're running on your own, I mean, within the 20 minutes, you're like, ugh, this is I'm getting bored right now. So you just stop running, and that's what it feels like right now, for Barcelona at least.
Yeah. Um. All right. So I mean, we talked about the big clubs. Who else? What else do you want to talk about, man? What else? You?
Oh man, Sociedad. I mean, they
Oh,
they
Real
faced
Sociedad.
in
Yeah.
Man City, Man United, right? No,
No, no,
PSG.
no.
Sorry,
PSG.
PSG.
I think they
Yeah.
could beat them. To be honest with you.
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah. I mean, a lot of people in France we're kind of happy. I mean, the journals are kind of happy about the draw. They're like, oh, we got one of the best draws that we could have gotten and whatever. I'm like, y'all haven't seen how Sociedad plays. I mean, if all their players are available for that game, especially the return game in Spain, man, I mean, PSG are not ready for what's coming at them because Sociedad is no joke, man.
Mm,
Sociedad plays some really good football. They're very consistent in their performances. Imanol is a great coach. He's proven to be a great coach for that team, and they got the players. If they can, if nothing happens in January, the transfer window, if no one leaves, and those players keep their freshness, come the 14th of February, bro, I think they can progress, and I think they're going for it because I mean they're fifth, I think, in La Liga right now, or sixth. They're sixth behind Athletic Club. Um, they're probably still keep fighting for that top five position.
yeah.
But now that they're not in the Europa League, I mean the only chance for them to progress to the Champions League next season is to go as far as possible and keep fighting for that top four spot. So bro, I mean, I think they will surprise a lot of people in that PSG game, and I'm looking forward to that game. Actually, like really looking forward to it. I think I'll watch both games, and I obviously like go Sociedad. I love that team.
Yeah. So it's going to be Copenhagen, Man City. That's going to be an easy one from City, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Which actually a lot of teams are giving them trouble. So
Mm-hmm.
but they still they end up winning every time. Leipzig versus Real Madrid. That's going to be fairly
It's
fairly
going to be
easy.
an entertaining game, but yeah, Madrid got an
Yeah.
edge, obviously.
PSG, Real Sociedad, you mentioned that. I think Real Sociedad, to be honest, hopefully they beat them because I
I
hate
hope
PSG,
so.
man.
I
Freaking
hate
annoying
PSG
me.
as well.
They robbed me. Bayern Munich and Lazio. Yeah. Well, I mean, Lazio, no, not really. Not this season. Lazio's not playing well this
They
season.
just lost to Atletico Madrid, right? So yeah, I
Yeah,
don't see
so
him. I mean, yeah,
Bayern
it's an achievement that they made it this far.
um Inter Atletico Madrid, that's gonna be a tough. They're
It
both
feels like they
pragmatic.
play each other each year, man.
They're similar teams, to be honest with you. They're
Hell yeah.
pragmatic, tough.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's gonna be really interesting to see how that's probably to me the most um
Balanced game.
balanced match of
Yeah.
this whole round of 16. PSV Dortmund. Dortmund has this one. That's an easy one. PSV is not good at all.
Really?
PSV, yeah, no. They're just. I've seen them with Arsenal. I've seen them with Lons.
Mm.
They're just
Mm.
not really. I don't even know why. I think Arsenal did them a favor beating Lons. Oh,
Okay.
5-0 or 5. Yeah, 5-0. I think. Yeah, it was just the least of the worst that they got through on that one. Um, Porto Arsenal. That's a decent. One I think Arsenal are better still, but
Yeah.
um, that's a decent one, and we'll see how Arsenal are reacting to the Champions League. You know, they're not really a great Champions League team, or haven't been
I
for
mean,
a long time.
they going for the EPL this year. I don't
True.
think the Champions League is their target. And I think once again, like I was saying about Barcelona and La Liga, I feel like for Arsenal, they're still in that rebuild phase with
Yeah.
Arteta, although it's been what 4 years. So I still think they won. They really won it. Last year they were this close. I think this year, I mean, they've got a fair shot, given that City, have a lot of major injuries and
Yeah.
they're having issues coping. So
Yeah. And then you got Napoli Barcelona, which is going to be a tough match for Barcelona.
what's your take on that?
I think, well, Napoli, from what I've been talking to Napoli fans, and it's not the greatest of a season. They got Mazzari back, or they got Mazzari on the team, and they weren't doing good with Rudy Garcia,
Right.
and it's just kind of a change. But they're still a tough team. I think that Barcelona, if they play good, I don't think Napoli can beat them. I think they can beat Napoli anytime. But
It's
it's about
interesting.
whether Barcelona can get it done. I mean, that's the
That's
ultimate thing. To be honest with you,
yeah.
I
But
when
it's
Barcelona's
interesting
playing
because we
well,
didn't talk. Sorry, yeah, go on, go on.
yeah, no, when Barcelona's playing well, I don't think there are many teams that can beat them.
Yeah, but I feel like one of the differences between this year and last year is that Barcelona is conceding way too many goals. This is another thing that we didn't
Mm,
talk about because I talked a lot about Lewandowski and how we've been struggling to score goals. But in football, I mean, of course, you need to outscore your opponent, but you also, I mean, if you want to win titles, you're not supposed to be conceding as many goals as we have this year. And if you look at once again the contrast between last season with a lesser squad, and this season with a much better squad. I mean, we signed an extra defender, although he's injured a lot. Uh, and I mean, Araujo has been injured for a good part of the first part of the season, but then he came back and we were still fighting for the league. Kunde was doing really well before his injury, and now he's like really the worst CB in our team. And Christensen, I mean, he's in and out of injuries, but he's always flawless when he plays. If you
mhm,
look at that defense and you look at the fact that we signed Cancelo, which who I love by the way, and you look at the dip in form of Balde, and of course the injury of Ter Stegen. We barely talked about it. We talked a lot about Courtois being injured for Real Madrid, although it's for the whole
yeah,
season. For Ter Stegen, it's just a couple of months. But we haven't talked about that. And lately, I mean, the games that we lost or we dropped points, we're playing with Iñaki Peña, who hadn't featured for like a couple of years. So we were playing everything with Ter Stegen, and I'm not saying Pena made a lot of mistakes, but maybe, I mean, with a better goalkeeper, we could have saved face, I guess. But we didn't. So defensively, yeah, Barcelona this season has been awful, literally awful. I mean, even with all the players at our disposal defensively, last season we complained that our back four was injured most of the time, and that's why we lost against United, and that's why we struggled a lot in the Champions League. This season, I mean, for a good part of the season, everyone is available, and yet we struggle a lot. And I don't understand what's happening. Earlier today, actually, you mentioned something about Xavi and something that's consistently happening with him, and I wanted to add another thing that I see constantly happening with Xavi, which I don't understand. I don't want to be critical of him, but I see that a lot of players are actually kind of struggling under him, although the system seems to work. But if you look at some really amazing players like Kunde, like Balde, whoever, Lewandowski, for instance, or Rafinha, the Rafinha of Leeds, all of these players are struggling under Xavi. So is Xavi not bringing the best of all of his players? I mean, of course, there are players that are doing much better than they were. One of them was Dembele, of course. He brought him back from the dead, and he made him one of the best players in La Liga last season, and then whatever happened happened. But I mean, you have other players where you're like, what's going on? I mean, if you look at Balde, he's one of the best raw talents in the world in his position, and yet he's struggling, especially this season. And he's struggling so much that I wouldn't mind him benching, for most of the season and playing Cancelo on his side, because whenever we did that, we beat Atletico Madrid and we played really well and much better than with him on that side. So it makes you question, like, a lot of what's going on behind closed doors, and if Xabi is bringing out the best of his players, all of his players, not just some of them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that the inexperience to a certain extent could be he's still a young manager, so it's not.
Absolutely.
He's still a lot of time to. I understand that he's a Barcelona kind of the same mindset of like a Chelsea. They have a lot of
Yeah,
young
Lamp.
players and they want them to
Yeah,
play great, but there's still a lot of young players. Now, maybe the idea of bringing so many young players wasn't the great idea, but at the end of the day, there's still a lot of young players. You can't make them play like experienced players. So kind of
absolutely.
at the same time, I think that he was also the right coach, Xabi, for Barcelona.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just
without a
about
question.
it's just about giving him time, and he won La Liga last year, man. We can't have. I know that with these big clubs, it's short memory.
No mercy. There's no
And
mercy in big clubs, man.
got to give him time, and I think that eventually, he'll get there. I think he's the best manager right now for the job. You know what I'm saying. I don't think
I
anybody
agree.
else is. You're not getting another former player that. What's the other former player of Barcelona that's killing it is a manager? Not one. I mean, not that I can think of.
I
Most
mean,
of them.
yeah, except for Pep Guardiola and
Oh
Arteta,
yeah, but I mean,
maybe. But I mean,
right,
yeah,
right.
these guys are not coming to Barcelona.
Yeah, and so maybe Arteta in the future he'll take that job.
I
But
think Arteta can be a good option. I think there's another guy. I mean, he's not playing at the top level, but Pimienta, who he used to be with the B team, and he was with Las Palmas this year. His team plays well. His team plays beautiful football. He understands Barcelona more than a lot of people would give him credit for, or actually know, because he was with the B team, and I've always enjoyed watching Barcelona's B team since the Messi era, actually. And he's one of the coaches that really, knows his players and knows how to tweak the weaknesses of his players to his advantage, and brings out the best of his players. And so many of the players that we see in the first team right now actually came up under him, including Araujo. When we signed him, he played for the B team. He was really not at the level that he's playing right now. He was so raw as a talent, and thanks to Pimienta, he is right now one of the best center backs in the world. So,
one of the managers that the sound that was rumored before Xabi got there is the one that's for Portugal right now.
oh yeah, Martinez.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Roberto
Roberto
Martinez.
Martinez.
Yeah. And so yeah, he was an
I'm
option.
not a fan. I'm
It
not
was
a
an option.
fan. I mean, we've seen him with Chelsea. We've seen him with Belgium. I mean, he's got great ideas, and he's a great pundit, and he explains football really well, and he understands football the way Barcelona wants to play it. But there's a difference between understanding football and applying it to the players. Of course, Portugal are doing great under him right now. I mean, he's got a super squad. Let's not forget that. Portugal is they've got a squad that can win World Cups literally, like, without having to play at 100%. They have some of the best players in every position in that team. So let's not forget that. But um, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, he hasn't won anything major, like convincingly with the teams that he was with before. So
Mm.
there was Ten Hag on that list as well. And I actually
Uh,
one of the people that wanted Ten Hag to sign for Barcelona, believe it or not.
oh my
I
god.
genuinely thought, man, bring that guy home. Like, I thought Chabi was not ready at that point. I mean, I was, of course, in favor of Chabi coming back. I was just like, well, Ten Hag has taken this. Ajax team to the semifinals of the Champions League, a really young team. He looked like the guy who understood football the way Barcelona wants to play it. His, a disciple of Johan Cruyff. So I actually really
E-
wanted Ten Hag to come to Barcelona, and at the end of the day, maybe, thankfully, he did it. Who knows?
everybody thought that way until he got there, and now fans they don't want him, which is crazy. But well, not really crazy. It's just that he also didn't do things the right way, and
How
we,
so? How so?
well,
The
because
whole Cristiano saga. I was
that was
on Team
that
Ten
was
Hag
just
personally.
yeah. I wasn't. I mean, I think that you need to respect
Of
your
course, the way they handled it was childish, but
and also he the way he handled it, with the interview
yeah,
with Pierce Morgan wasn't a great idea. But I think that
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like both of
I,
them were childish in the
I
way they handled it.
I think that he was fed up, and ultimately, man, he was right to a certain extent. He came to
No,
Manchester United.
I wouldn't agree with that. It's
If
not
it
like he was doing great with United. He scored one goal for in like 4 months with him. He was declining. He couldn't handle playing at this level in Europe.
but
I don't. I
if you have
understand as a coach. That's. It's the same situation that's happening with Lewandowski in Barcelona
yeah,
because he is a
but Ma-
certain player.
but Cristiano
Because
means a
he
lot
is
more to Manchester
to
United.
United, I
That's the
think he
thing.
should have never went back to United. That chapter was over. It's like Messi coming back to Barcelona. I wanted it to happen because I'm a romantic and I wanted to see Messi back in the Barcelona shirt. But I'm pretty sure, given how we're playing right now, a lot of players would have been like, "Oh, a lot of journals, a lot of fans would have probably pinned some of what's happening right now on Messi because we brought back Messi and now the team has to play around Messi. I could see it from a mile away. So I'm kind of glad he didn't come back. These stories, they don't always get the best of endings. And the
Mm.
way the downfall of Cristiano since going to United is kind of sad to see because he played for the opposition team. So obviously I'm not a huge fan of his, and I'm not a huge fan of how he plays. But I respect the guy, and I respect like what he's done for football. And to see him go to United, be treated the way he was treated by the club, by the coach, by the fans as well, because a lot of fans wanted him out. And for him to end up in Saudi Arabia, no, it's painful to watch, and I don't think it's
Oh
all that Ten Hag's fault. I think he
well,
just didn't accept that he was 36
he's
and
fought with
declining.
everybody right now, fighting with Sancho.
Yeah,
Sancho,
Sancho, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Sancho came out after that, and he said that Sancho is not, he just barely. He said like basically, you know, kind of going around the fact that he's not fit to play. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Mm-hmm.
said it in different words, but that's what he meant. And of course, when you question a player like that, I've never seen that before. And if I've seen it from managers that actually have a strong back, and
Right.
they what I mean, like could be a Ferguson, a
Yeah,
Guardiola, people that
yeah.
you're just getting to the team and you're getting your players against you, man. And
Agree.
I just don't. That doesn't make any sense. Then you put Anthony to play when you know that Anthony has been accused of domestic abuse. You still played him during that time. The
Yeah.
reason why he didn't play is because he was in Brazil with the national team. Then he got kicked out. So it's not like he was sent off by Ten Hag. You know what I mean? Like double standards. You
Mm-hmm.
want to play this, r- you know, this strict manage him the strict way and just do it with certain players. He just lost the locker room. He didn't want Harry Maguire to be the player. And I agree. I mean, to a certain extent, I agree. But now that you need him, you put him back in the starting lineup. That's your number one center back. Have no convictions. You know what I mean? You have no like. If you don't want the dude, then get his ass out. Like you don't have to. You know what I mean? If that's he didn't leave. The reason why Harry Maguire didn't leave was just because he didn't want to go to West Ham. He didn't want to downgrade, basically. And but if you don't want the player, why are you putting him on? You know what I mean? You kind of proving everybody's point that you just don't know what the hell you're doing. You know what I mean? Because you take one guy
That's
out.
Yeah, I
You
see
know what I
what
mean?
you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. I kind of there are a lot of things that I agree with there, but sometimes coaches do what they have, and when everyone is out injured, what you gonna do? You played Maguire.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of Maguire, nor am I a fan of how everything has been handled since Ten Hag has taken over.
Mm.
Um, and especially like the Sancho and the Anthony and even the Cristiano saga. Um, but once again, I feel like he came in and United gave him the keys to the club, and
That was a mistake.
they were kind of fed up with how past managers have handled a lot of situations too, because there was a lot of backless, backboneless managers coming in since Ferguson left, and unfortunately, I mean, except for Mourinho, all the others were, they didn't do as well as they were supposed to. And yeah, I mean, he came in. United are not the most competitive team in the world right now, but
Yeah.
they're still fighting. They're still trying to fight for their lives. Of course, the whole management of that club is a disaster. I mean, how are
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
United with billions of dollars, and you're seventh? Are you kidding me? With all that history, with everything
Mm.
that happened with Fergie, with all that fan base, with all that money coming in week in, I mean, month in, month out. Yeah, it's sad to see how they're struggling and how they always struggle to recruit the right managers. Because at some point, Pep Guardiola was out there, Jurgen Klopp was out there, and they didn't go for them. They went for Mourinho because he's a pragmatist, I guess. He won him what, a couple of titles in 2 years or 3 years. But Mourinho has never been the coach to build teams. Is the coach that will get you titles like quickly, and then he'd leave you and he'd leave everything in flames behind him. That's always been his motto in every club that he's been to. He signs
Yeah.
players that he likes that would perform well, punctually, and then move on to another club.
Yeah.
And if you want to rebuild from the bottom, you get a guy like Guardiola, you get a guy like Arteta, you get a guy like Xavi, but for Barcelona, or Ancelotti for Madrid. That's who you get, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's where United kind of messed up.
Well, we got to call it off. We got to call this off. I have to go back to work. So,
All
unfortunately,
right,
but
man.
I appreciate everybody listening, watching. We had some few people come on, so I appreciate that. And of course, subscribe, smash the like button. Continue to watch the shows later in the episode in the channel. We have shows coming up all the time, and so thank you, TK. Frank couldn't make it again, I guess. Frank, man, he's got a long a lot of late fees to pay when he comes back.
Oh
But
yeah, oh yeah.
Real Madrid don't have a representative, man. That's not good. That's
That's
not
I,
good.
I I hate it, man. I wanted Frank to be here, man. I want
Yeah,
to go at him and be like, "You guys are playing like shit, and you're just getting bailed out by Bellingham week in week out." What's your
no
take on
doubt. No doubt. Oh, he'll be mad as hell about that, but he's not here to defend
that?
himself. So it is what it is. Big up to everybody that's listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, we're everywhere. So appreciate that. Of course, rate us, follow us, and
Hit
we'll
us
be
up on
back.
Twitter as well.
Exactly. Hit us up on Twitter at La Liga Talk Pod. You see it right there on X. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, man. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace out.